Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to this month's watch list. Basically, think of it as a monthly TV guide for me to let you know when and what TV shows that I'm interested in that maybe you're interested in are coming out. Like always, if there are any trailers available for anything that I bring up during this watch list, I'll include a link to them in the description down below. On January 1st, we have The Gifted Season 2 returning from its winter break, which I'm very excited about. Like, some pretty interesting things went down when we left off the show, so I'm very interested to kind of get back in there and see where we go. Like, things weren't looking good on, you know, Mutant Underground front on many different levels, and just everything that's going on with the inner circle definitely took some very interesting turns character-wise, so I'm very interested to see where we pick up with that. Also on that same day, we have a Doctor Who New Year's special because there wasn't a Christmas special this year for Doctor Who, so I'm very interested to see what the storyline ends up being, you know. So I mean, the difference of it not being a Christmas special but rather being a New Year's special, like how that ends up happening, like how and what that really means, whether there'll really be much of a difference. I mean, obviously theme-wise it is, but it's also interesting because I think the episode is called Resolution. And also returning on that same day is Lethal Weapon Season 3, which I'm very excited. I think there's only like a couple episodes left this season because I think this season's only going to be 13 episodes. This will be like episode 10, I think. So I'm very interested to see where they kind of take the story, especially like I caught little glimpses of the next episode, or at the very least what's coming up soon, like where things have left off with Cole and just the whole Natalie situation, that kind of being the very complicated situation that is. On January 3rd on Fox, we have Gotham's 5th and final season premiering, which I'm excited about, but yet also bummed about, just because excited because I'm so interested to see what they do with it. Because if you're like, just from what I read a little bit of like around season 4's finale, what they were going to plan on doing with the final season is kind of, if you're familiar with comic books, it's kind of like a year one storyline. Essentially, it's like Bruce's first year as Batman. So that's definitely going to be interesting. But the kind of sad side of it is that initially I made a video where I talked about it being 10, but it's actually 12 episodes is all you're going to get for this final season, which I'm kind of sad about. But you know, I talked about it recently where a lot of stuff in their final seasons usually have less episodes, sometimes getting cut in half like that. But either way, I'm very interested to see what they do. Now, next up, I want to include something that I got mixed information about, and that is the Blacklist Season 6 premiere, which I'm very excited about. But one thing I saw said that part 1 is going to be on January 3rd, and then the second part is going to be on January 4th, whereas something else I read was saying that it's just going to be a 2-hour premiere on January 4th. I think just because I've seen multiple things say this, that it is part 1 on the 3rd and part 2 on the 4th. Either way, the season afterwards the following weeks will all be on Friday, so do keep that in mind. Like I said, I'm very excited, especially all the huge developments that went down last season, especially because Liz is not the biggest fan of Red right now. They've had their complicated relationship. Now it's taking a whole new level of complications, and maybe, just maybe, we'll finally dig up all the secrets that Red keeps buried. I mean, probably not all of them, but at least the one that's on everybody's mind, like the truth about this situation, even the truth that's on Liz's mind right now, you know, so we'll see. On January 5th, we have Young Justice Season 3, which the subtitle of Season 3 is The Outsiders. It will be on DC's new streaming service, DC Universe, so keep that in mind. That's the only place you'll be able to find it. Which is very interesting. I don't know, I don't remember if I think I've seen a trailer for this new season. I don't remember. I mean, I'd have to go back because I still have yet to go back and rewatch Season 1 and Season 2. So just throwing that out there in case, you know, obviously you're a very, you know, a Young Justice fan, a DC fan, and you have the DC streaming service, DC Universe, then I'm just kind of throwing that out there for you. On January 7th, we have Manifest returning, which I'm very excited about. If you've not checked out Manifest, I highly recommend you do it. Most recently, I've seen that all the episodes are currently streaming on Hulu for now. So if you haven't caught up, like, now is kind of a great time to catch up before the episodes return. I'm so interested to kind of continue unraveling this mystery, as a lot of stuff went down in the winter finale, a lot of personal stuff, a lot of developments with this whole situation, like what's going on with this group from Flight 828. So on January 10th, we have The Good Place returning, which I'm very, very excited about. This season has been fantastic, and I love, like, where we left off, we saw things kind of happen. I don't want to give too much away with two certain characters, and also, you know, I'm trying not to talk about it too much. I mean, to be fair, it's like the Eleanor and Chidi situation, which I'm like, okay, that's finally happening. That's a thing again. Yay, because, you know, Eleanor and Chidi deserve some happiness, you know, so... but I'm very interested to see where things kind of go for it, because it's all about fixing the system, like kind of how the afterlife works. Which I'm like, this show continues to go like kind of dive into those things, and I think those are like some very interesting aspects. On January 14th on Fox, we have the series premiere of The Passage. Essentially, this agent of some sort played by, I'm gonna butcher his name, it's like Mark Paul, is it Gosner? I know I'm totally got that wrong. Like, obviously, like Zach from Saved by the Bell, Franklin and Bash, those are kind of like the things I best know him from, but he's done a lot of stuff. Essentially, he's trying to retrieve this girl who's supposed to be kind of an experiment for stopping some epidemic that's spreading. It seems like a very like science fictional show, like borderlining, seems a little bit zombie-ish in certain regards, but it might not be quite a zombie thing. It's kind of something else entirely. I don't know. I watched the trailer like a couple months ago, and it's all seemed very interesting to me. So I'm very excited to see what, you know, the show is all about, because he's trying to protect her, because he has like a change of heart where it's like, I was going to do my job, but now I'm second guessing it, and now he kind of looks after her and takes care of her. So on January 15th on the CW, we have The Flash returning from its break, which super excited about that. Like, obviously this is picking up after the Elseworlds crossover, but also where we left off, we learned some very interesting things about Nora, and I'm very interested to kind of dive into like why Nora did what she did, as well we kind of know why, but why she joined up specifically with the person that she joined up with, especially considering who that person is, which if you're not caught up I won't say, but that's definitely very interesting. Also on that same night, we're going to have a new series on the CW called Roswell, New Mexico. Essentially, it seems like this woman who grew up in this town has come back to this town to find out that some of the people she grew up with, and like obviously like, you know, Roswell being known for aliens and stuff like that, that these people are actually aliens. And I guess kind of like, I don't know, it seems like a very like science fictional, you know, alien show of just kind of keeping that secret. Beyond that, I really don't know too much. This is based on like the commercials I've actually seen for it and stuff like that, but it seemed very interesting, so I decided to add it to the list. On January 16th on the CW, we have Riverdale returning from its break, and some pretty big things went down the last time we saw. I'm very curious to see, you know, where Archie's story takes him, as well as what Hiram has in store for Riverdale. We've kind of got a little taste here and there, but it's going to be interesting to fully see the grand picture of his grand design for his kingdom that he's building, and what that means for the residents of Riverdale, and where their stories take them, you know, what part they have to play in Hiram's grand plan. Also on January 16th on Sci-Fi, we have the series premiere of Deadly Class, which I'm very excited about. If you know what Deadly Class is, essentially it's a dude named Marcus finds himself, you know, attending a school for assassins. This takes place in like 1987 specifically. It seems kind of like a wild and crazy series just based on the first episode. It's actually based on a comic book, or rather graphic novel, but kind of circling back to what I just talked about, the first episode is actually kind of an interesting thing. They actually released the first episode super early. It came out like a couple days ago. By the time you see this video, it will have been probably a little more than a week ago that they released it, but I'll include a link to it in the description down below, because one place you can watch it is on Sci-Fi's YouTube channel, which is pretty dope. I don't know if they'll keep it up there forever. I kind of get the feeling like they probably will remove it the moment the series actually premieres on January 16th, or at the very least around that time, but who knows, maybe they'll keep it up there forever. So, but for now, like, I highly recommend, if you are curious about checking out the show, I highly recommend you know, go ahead and check it out, kind of give you a little taste of whether or not you really want to, you know, watch the show going forward or not, even before it premieres. So that's pretty cool. I'm very invested. I'm very interested to go like, okay, already bring me the rest of this season. I'm very excited to see like what, you know, especially with what the pilot kind of introduced and set up. I'm very interested to dive into that world. On January 17th on the CW, we have the return of Supernatural. Pretty big things went down in the mid-season finale, especially the whole Dean situation. Obviously won't go too deep into that, but like Michael's plan seems like it is slowly trickling out. At the very least, it's entering its the big stages, and I'm curious to see what it ultimately unravels and becomes, because obviously it seems like he's trying to do like a repeat of the original, like his world, trying to bring it over into this world, Apocalypse world, trying to repeat what was there here, but with less resistance. It seems like that's what he's trying to pull, but to kind of get the full scope and understand everything, I'm very interested to see what the rest of the season has in store for us. Also on that same night, we have A Million Little Things, because now it's shifting over to Thursdays, which is interesting, so do keep that in mind. I believe it's a new time as well, so also like, you know, check out local listings for that. But obviously, like last time we left off with this show, some pretty big stuff got dropped on Delilah's lap, so that's the thing I'm most invested in figuring out, like, yo, where is that going? I kind of made a video recently talking about my thoughts about what that will end up being, but obviously it seems like we're definitely going to like drop a little bit more into who John potentially really was, the side of himself that he hid from a lot of people. So I'm very interested to find out like what that all entails. On January 20th, we have the return of Supergirl, once again picking up after the Elseworlds crossover, but basically Kara had a pretty big ultimatum placed in front of her. Like we saw her kind of talk to Clark about it in Elseworlds crossover, but now we're going to see her really trying to like deal with the aftermath of like her choice in that regard, everything that's going on with Agent Liberty, especially how things played out for his story. You know, it seems like people are still siding with him even with his mask off, and this might lead to people potentially turning against Supergirl because of that said ultimatum that what she was kind of faced with. So like I said, I'm curious to see like the aftermath of all that and see what else the season has in store for us, because I brought this up before. It's interesting because it's like obviously there's like two major things going on this season. One of those other things has kind of been in the background the entire time. So I'm curious to see like going forward, is it going to be like a bigger forefront thing? Also on that same night is we have Charmed, obviously the reboot, returning from its break. A lot of things went down in the mid-season finale. A lot of reveals. There's some stuff that Maggie found out about. Harry's in a very particular sticky situation, and obviously little interesting developments going forward for Macy, potentially with the whole Galvin situation, because I don't want to give too much away about that, but what that kind of means going forward, how them as sisters are going to handle that situation, but also everything that's going on with Mel and group she's associated with now. So on January 21st, also on the CW, we have Arrow returning once again, and this will be the final time I say it, taking place after the Elseworlds crossover. Now, the last time we left off with Arrow, Oliver made a pretty big decision, and I'm curious to see what that means going forward, because it's going to be him doing this thing, but it's like, what about the others? Do the others kind of get circled into that as well? Like Dinah, I kind of know where she stands with it, but I'm curious about like Renee. Curtis is probably set where he is, but you know what this means also for Felicity, because something I haven't talked about is I'm curious also, it'll probably be one or two lines, maybe there might be a scene dedicated to it, but this is going to be once again the aftermath of the Elseworlds crossover, so I'm curious to see and hear some of those conversations about what went down. And also on that same night, we will be having Black Lightning return. And yes, you did hear me correctly, Black Lightning is no longer after the Flash. When Black Lightning returns, it will be on Mondays after Arrow on January 21st until the completion of season 2. So that's a very interesting change, but I'm excited to see what ends up happening. The complicated Jennifer and Khalil situation is playing out the way it is, and I'm curious to see where that ultimately goes and what's going to happen with, well, because to be fair, Jeff, Lynn, and Anissa and Gamby all kind of think one thing when there's actually something else going on, because they don't know all the details and just like the toll this is having on their family. But I'm really curious to see how much further this whole Jennifer and Khalil thing will go on for, and where that will eventually take them as well as the rest of the characters, when everything and everyone finally catches up with each other, like knowing like what's going on, you know. So on January 23rd on Sci-Fi, we have The Magician season 4 premiering. I am so excited. Season 3 was amazing, but that season 3 finale was a real like whoa. So I'm interested to see, you know, obviously our characters kind of got left in a particular situation, so I'm curious to see where they all go from here, especially Elliot, because where Elliot's situation left him, based on the trailer I saw, obviously the library is going to be continuing to play a big part, but it seems like they're going to be playing an even bigger role this season just because of how things played out for them last season. On January 24th on the CW, we have Legacies returning. Now, this is very interesting considering like all that we've kind of learned about like what's going on in the world of Legacies, like what this whole situation's about, what the Dagger's true purpose is. You know, there's more about that in Malivore. The last time we checked, it was Hope and Raphael finding out that like, oh wait, Landon's in trouble, which that's another angle to this too, like what Landon's whole role is to play in all this. I'm very interested to get back and find out where the rest of the season takes us, like what other secrets are being, you know, held, and where like everyone goes from here. And then finally on January 25th on Rooster Teeth, we have the new series Genlock, obviously made by Rooster Teeth. It's their new animated show, which looks pretty dope. It's very interesting because this show has got some pretty big names behind it too, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, it's like, well, it's Rooster Teeth, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But it, you know, because they've gotten some pretty well-known people in the past, you know, to work with them and stuff like that. So it's not that big of a surprise, but it's still pretty cool. I don't know too much about the show. It seems like it's kind of like a very science fictional show. It seems kind of like a powered armor type of show, like a lot of people were, like at least the main characters at the very least, wearing power armor, which if you don't know, I'm kind of a big fan of power armored or like suits like that and stuff like that. That's why like it doesn't seem like it's going to be Gundam level suits, at least I don't think so. Maybe it is, but it seems more like it's just human size power armor. I believe you can watch it for free, that you don't need to be a first member, but I could be wrong, so I highly recommend you look into it yourself just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure it's for free, but like I said, I could be wrong. So I'm very interested to kind of see what that show's all about. Like I said, it looks and seems pretty interesting from the little bit I've seen. So, and that brings this month's watch list to an end. Like always, if there's something that you're aware of that maybe I wasn't aware of that's coming out this month that you're interested in, that you think maybe me or someone else would be interested in, don't be afraid to leave it in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good